So you've got this sort of man-made, businessy, materialistic version of relationship, but it's non-native. And I often think about, this analogy that I hear that's like, if you're in a swimming pool and you've got a ball and you're holding it underwater, who's going to get tired first? You or the ball, right? The ball is going to come out eventually. And so what's holding this in place? Like, what is the energy that holds this in place between men, between women? What are the agreements between women that are holding this in place between men? What's the sacred cow that would need to let go there?
It's funny, I have this friend who does really cool freedom work mostly in India, and they freeze slaves in India. And she said this thing. She said that you'd think that the difficulty, why does this make me want to cry? It does. But you'd think that the difficulty would be in freeing these people. And she said, no, that's not the difficulty. The difficulty is showing them another way to keep them from going back to their own enslavement. And that the security, the certainty, the routine, the familiarity with it, they after being freed, they just willingly trek back long distances into enslavement again. And I think that's because we haven't done great small print on what freedom is, because it is it's a lot of labor of love, but it is labor. It takes a lot more than relying on a form, relying on a person. You have to be awake and alive for it. And so there's that. And then this is going to be the controversial thing I say. Probably everything I've said is a little bit controversial. So I went to this gig, and it was a big deal, a super big deal. I was the only woman ever to speak at this gig, and it was these super alpha men, like you would know their names, super alpha men in Hollywood. And it was interesting. They really, let's be honest, they were just, how do you get her to squirt? And it wasn't very nuanced, we'll say. And but it was nice. I did feel like I got to put a little woman's touch on that thing. And then this one guy asked me out to lunch, but he asked me in a really good way, something like, "You're going to need help." And I want to help you. And okay. But he didn't say it in that way, like, little broken bird baby, you're going to need help. It was sort of like he actually knew how insubordinate Eros is. And if you liberate Eros in the world, a lot of things are going to change. He saw it. Anyway, we went out to lunch, and he said, just like out of the blue, right? Boy, he must be having a hard time with the pussy cartel. I said, what are you talking about? And he says, women have been trained to keep an embargo on sex in order to maintain a modicum of control, because they're too terrified of their own liberation. And so what they do in order to keep the structures in place is they won't allow a free sex market, we'll say. And they would feel disdain for anybody who did, and you'd face a lot of trouble, because we have this transacting model. But the model is based on scarcity. It's based on scarcity, fundamentally. And so you have to maintain that scarcity in the market. And so this idea that I hate I'm sorry, yeah, I do. I hate them. I hate all the things that you're talking about there's all these programs for women. Oh, this is how you withhold or withhold sex and withhold valuable nutrients for human beings in order to seal the deal and get the man to marry you. But that's transaction. That's transaction. That is so antithetical to love. That is violence against love. And then the reverse. This is how you step into her circle of fear and neg her in order to get sex from her. And it's just a terrible market. And so I think that's what holds it in place. And I think until you have to have two things. Until you have women who genuinely want liberation, not like feminist liberation, okay? Until you want the liberation of defining the world on your terms. And I do not mean this in a sort of, what do they call that? Boss bitch way? Because really, if you're in a commerce-based reality, then, well, I mean, we all are in some way, but if that's, then you are, sort of what is it? You're a great man. That's what I'll say. You're not living in a feminine defined reality. And so I think that has to happen. And I think the other thing that has to happen is we have to transition men into now that women have access to money, men will be obsolete in a certain way, right? Because that's the model, right? And now I can buy a man. So, then we just keep moving the pendulum back and forth of superiority, inferiority. In order to make that transition, we have to, so we're going to equal fulfillment, right? We have to shift out of the world of appearances, which would be like finances and what we consider, like the model of a good man or a sexy man right now is like a big, strong man, because a woman would need a man to protect her. And that, they do all the things. They co-opt all the spiritual things. They do the dark meditations and I don't know, they do collagen or something. I don't know. Anyway, see, that man is the old model. And remember, the old model always gets stronger before the new model is going to come through. And they're, they're a little bit charismatic, kind of, because it's all the world of appearances, into a man who can produce fulfillment in a woman. And I don't think most women have any concept of what that is. So what we settle for is kind of masculine, and all the things that signifies, or we settle for having financial being produced for. But if now that we have money, we settle for this hot dude that we, whatever. So, but I'm fortunate. I mean, in a weird way, I'm actually unfortunate because I've tasted something that isn't in the market. But I know what it is to have the ultimate resource from a man of attention. Just absolute precision attention, where that quality of production that exists in a man is there to seamlessly anticipate and produce everything I would desire. And I don't mean that in not like a queen. Sometimes you see that like, go queen, be a queen. No, I'm not a queen. I'm a woman. That's what a woman is. We've just so rarely seen what a woman is that we call it a queen. And that's the right relationship. I was thinking about it while I was writing my journal. But I had this experience with Ray. You've heard a lot about Ray, where I could just think it. And it would be happening. And not in Ray was pretty alpha, very alpha. so alpha that he could afford to be a genuine man who could produce fulfillment for a woman. And so I could just think it, and it would just start happening. And it would even happen in a way that would acknowledge the fact that I couldn't receive that much sometimes, you know, like I really wanted to paint I had been to the Zen Center, I wanted to paint my room sage green so badly. And I came home and told him about it, and he said, well, honey, let's do that. And I said, no, it'll be too much work. And then, so anyway, we ended up spending the day out, and I came home and my room was painted sage green, and it was everything of that nature. Or I went to Mongolia, and the experience of having silently, that's the thing. Everything I wanted produced for me, and not money things. And because when you step into the singularity, you step out of that kind of production. When you step into the singularity, you step out of the duty-based, you know, I'll take care of this, whatever it is, the car, the house. It's not that. It's I'll attend to your desire, because I'm smart enough to know that when your true desire is, and not your desire to produce, that's what we've co-opted, but when your true desire, your true feminine desire is enlivened and radiated, that's what you drink. And it's just simple. And then your fulfillment happens as a byproduct, and you don't have to go off into these corners. Because see, the model we have right now, I think, sorry, anyway, I'm passionate about this conversation apparently, but because the model we have right now is not good. That's what I'll say. Or it's good. It's good for business. It's good business. Good business.
You're touching on something.
Oh, and so that kind of man, by the way, what I'll say, what I love about him is that you don't know. You don't know. Like, they don't advertise it. They don't need to advertise it, because they know that a woman whose desire is alive will be able to sniff it on them. And it'll just be these invisible enhancements to your desire, and then without demand, until all of a sudden, you know, I often say, men return to the place where the greatest freedom occurs, and women return to the place where their desire is nurtured. And otherwise, you know, we lock each other down with rules and agreements because we wouldn't want to stay there. You know what I mean? It's like, why would you want to stay where you aren't free? And why would I want to stay where I have to tamp down my desire for you? Oh, okay, well then let's make a contract, because that's what you have to do, because we don't want to be there.